Well, the first secret I had was the first time I cheated. It was in 7th grade. It was this moment where I was in the closet with my boyfriend's friend, and he came in the closet when we were like hiding it. We were like playing a game. I can't even remember the game. And he kissed me, and I kid you not, it was like heroin shot up my body. The power and control I felt over this young kid in 7th grade was just all consuming. It was this moment of like, my household was in shambles. My parents didn't get along. I didn't see a healthy relationship mirrored to me. I lived in fantasy because I was a latchkey kid and watched too much television and film. And so I had this unrealistic idea of what romance felt like. When this kid kissed me and I cheated for the first time, it was like the best high in the world. And I kept that secret for the longest time. Nobody knew.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Audio porn is all the rage these days, and Bloom delivers a library of sexy stories voiced by a diverse cast in multiple languages and accents. I've been telling you all about Bloom for a while now, so I felt the best way to convince you to sign up is to let you hear it for yourself. Here's a clip from Taming of the Brat, a hetero BDSM story with a male lead who couldn't be me, because we all know Billy, not a fan of brats.
Now, since you like to use that mouth so much,
you step out of your pants. Oh, your cock's straining against your underwear. Oh, I want so badly to take that thick shaft into my mouth.
Yeah, no touching. If you want this cock in your ass, you're going to behave. You're going to be a good girl. Do you understand?
You pull it out and stroke it in your hands. Fuck, I want it.
Sign up for a very oral year of fun at Bloom Stories, BLOOM stories.com. Use promo code MANWHORE for up to 50% off your membership. This week's episode of the Man-Whore Podcast is sponsored by Joy Mode, the natural, science-backed supplement to boost your sexual performance. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking prescription medication for erectile dysfunction. We had a bit of a chat in the champagne room about this recently. I'm not here to shame that decision. What I've said is that those prescription drugs come with side effects. It says so on the label. For example, there's a popular one that can give you a gnarly fucking headache if you're dehydrated. I know from personal experience. And the Bodega Boner pills, yes, that's what we're calling them now. Those are kind of nasty. They're not regulated. You don't know what's in them. Some of them have been hit with class action lawsuits. Joy Mode, on the other hand, lists all of their ingredients right there on their website. And none of them come with side effects that will distract you from the fun. Their ingredients enhance blood flow circulation and relax the penile tissues that can result in better boners. That's all. If you want to go the medication route and deal with a doctor, you do you, boo-boo. And if you want to grow a third testicle with some rhino pill you bought at a store that sells them next to toothbrushes, it's your body, it's your choice. But you can try the all-natural way with Joy Mode and get 20% off your first order when you visit usejoymode.com/manwhore. That's usejoymode, usejoymode.com/manwhore. Or use promo code manwhore at checkout.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all of my friends and lovers. What's up, all you tops and tossers? This is Billy Persida, and you are listening to the Man-Whore Podcast. Coming to you every Wednesday for nearly 9 years. Talking about lust and love, talking about dicks and dating. If this is your first time to the program, welcome to it. This week on the podcast, I have got on actor, director, author, podcaster Brianne Davis. She hosts the Secret Life podcast, where she talks to strangers about their secrets. But she also has long struggled with sex and love addiction. But first, I gotta say, Naked Comedy Show. It is coming back to the Hacienda in Bushwick, March 18th. Yes, that's our next date, March 18th. Naked Comedy has been so hot. We're doing 2 shows. Yeah, we're doing an 8 and a 10. And tickets are going to go on sale next week, so do not miss out. And if you don't want to miss that first ticket drop, get on my mailing list at manwhorepod.com. Get hyped, get excited. I got a couple of great lineups with New York City's funniest naked comedians and even some of the most naked funny ones too. And if you want to see me do stand-up with my clothes on, I guess, and for free, I'll be at Bridge and Tunnel Brewery this Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Last week, I fulfilled my unique potential to talk about fashion. I went to go speak at Curve, which is a lingerie conference. And I was on a panel talking about men's lingerie, because of course I was. We had Billy Porter's personal designer. We had a guy who creates a great line of male intimates called Menagerie. Talked about them a lot over the years. There was a mental health professional, a woman who runs a lingerie store, and then me, dumpy, straight man comedian, because that's a perspective we still sometimes need, I guess. This was an expo that was for people who are either designing lingerie or they run a lingerie store. And so, and one of the big questions is like, well, how do we market to men? I mean, like queer men, you kind of know how to market the jock straps to. That's kind of already an established market. Here's my big stance on this. And I'm telling you it because the women listening right now, you're a big part of this. Check it out. There's going to be the guys who have always wanted to wear something sexy, something lacy. Okay, that guy exists and he already knows he's trying to look for stuff. When you put out your marketing campaigns, you're going to find them, and that's all well and good. But there are a lot of dudes who don't know or don't realize they have permission to wear something silky, something lacy, something light and pretty. And no billboard's really gonna, I mean, unless you get LeBron. If you can get LeBron in like a full body stocking, I think you can move the needle a lot. But outside of that, no billboard is going to convince men to go start buying, sexy underwear. Men who bang women need to see women posting on social media about men in lingerie. They need to see and hear the women they want to have sex with posting about this. That's how they're going to know it's real. There were women in that audience who were like, yeah, like I have a store and women come in because they say they want to see their husband or their boyfriend in something hot, but he won't do it. And you know how you're going to get him to do it? When he sees like 5 of his wife's friends post on Instagram, pictures of dudes wearing men's lingerie. And when he's like, oh, well, Cheryl, Diane, and Denise, they all seem to think this is hot. So I guess it's hot. I'm going to buy it. Because it's no longer like his wife nagging him. It's now, he sees that this is something women think are sexy. And some of them are going to buy it and be like, I'm doing this to get laid. And some of them are going to do it to get laid. And they're going to discover something about themselves. What I'm trying to say is, if you are someone of a feminine persuasion and you want to see men wearing lingerie, you want to see men wearing sexier stuff underneath their clothes, you want your play party date to dress a little more fabulously, it's not enough to tell them that you want it. They need to see that women in general think it's hot. And that's going to come on social media. That's going to be when someone speaks up at a party. I'll have a link to that panel in the show notes. I think it is up on YouTube right now. I think I got a few jokes in. I got a couple laughs. So that was fun. Before we get to Brianne Davis, let's do a quick fan whore appreciation moment. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Kay, a former patron who has now returned, the prodigal patron, if you will. Longtime listener, love that she's back. And I also want to give a shout out. She has a podcast about sex. It's called Give a Fuck Podcast. She's even had, I think she's even had a couple of fan whores on herself. So go check that out if you're looking for some more. And you too can become a member of my Patreon community, gain access to a slew of bonus content, and support the whore that you love. You can do all of that for really just $2 a month. May not seem like a lot to you. I promise it's a lot to me. Become a member today. Support the pod you love at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast or download the Patreon app and find me on there. For the rest of this month, I am still offering 7-day free trials to my $5 tier. Gain access to nearly 300 bonus episodes, all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And if you get your free trial right now, you can join us tomorrow night for the I need water. Hot movie night, which members know is tomorrow night in the Champagne Room. Anyways, patreon.com, manwhorepodcast, you know the deal. And now for this week's guest, Brianne Davis. You may recognize her from shows like Lucifer and Six. She also has a book out called Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict, a novel. Got a few ads here, and then let's go talk to Brianne a bit.
Looking for a dose of nostalgia? Well, Classic Conversations is the perfect choice for you. Each week we dive into iconic moments from the past and explore their lasting impact on pop culture. From timeless movie classics to unforgettable TV shows, we cover it all. Join us as we revisit the moments that have shaped entertainment history and continue to inspire and entertain us today. Subscribe to our podcast, Classic Conversations, and relive the best of the past with us.
The Man Whore Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Joy Mode, the sexual performance booster that's just like your pre-workout mix, but for better boners. I don't know how it does on the biceps. I'm interviewing a bunch of women I've been in gangbangs with for an article. And I spoke to a woman last week. I was at her gangbang in December, and I was recalling, like, at the end of the night, she said, "Oh man, Billy, you really brought it." I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And then we had a hug. I got 2 pops in. First round, I went PIV, did the thing, did my job. I did my fucking. And then I thought I was tapped out for the night. I got a good nut off. I was trying to be aware of my body. I was like, I don't know if I'm really going to get aroused again. But you know what? As the dudes were finishing off and getting dressed and tapping out, but she's still ready for more. And all of a sudden I find myself there tugging my dick, being like, I think I can give her some more. I'm not going to say that this boner is because of Joy Mode. I'm just going to say I took Joy Mode before I went to this gangbang. And here I am about to enter round 2 for anal. Because that's what the lady wanted. If you want to spice things up in the bedroom and boost your sexual performance, Joy Mode has a very special offer for the Fan Whore Nation. Okay, go to usejoymode.com/manwhore and get 20% off your first order. Again, that's usejoymode, usejoymode.com/manwhore, or use promo code manwhore at checkout. Have you tried audio erotica? Sexy stories are making a big comeback, and Bloom is a platform with a huge, diverse library of content in different languages and accents. Check out this clip from Controlling You, a lesbian sex story you can sync with your very own Love Ends vibrator.
You really enjoy torturing me, don't you?
Hey, you're the one who set up this little public affair. Is it good?
Yeah, of course. It feels good.
I meant the food, baby. Is the food good?
Oh, yes. It's actually really good. I'm glad I got this instead of the risotto.
I love the face you're making right now. Embarrassed at being called out. Frustrated with the barely there stimulation of the vibrator.
Want to hear the rest? Bloom is offering my listeners a very special deal. Fan Whore Nation can get up to 50% off your membership when you use promo code MANWHORE at bloomstories.com. That's Bloom, BLOOM, stories.com with the promo code MANWHORE. And so how long have you been with the husband?
With the husband, we've been together for 18 years. So I got into recovery while I was in a relationship. Lots of people get in when they're breaking up or in a toxic relationship. The reason I got in is because I knew I was about to blow up my relationship once again with an unavailable person because the intimacy was getting too real. So I had to really take a look at myself and say, hey, it can't be all these people not giving me what I want or not being my soulmate or my perfect partner or whatever you want to call it these days. I had to say, hey, the common denominator is me. Something it has to be worked out with me. It's not somebody else.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think a lot of us would normally think, someone comes to this realization about themselves like in the midst of a breakup. I don't think we normally think of somebody like being with somebody for 5 to 6 years and then going, so what's that moment of realization like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tricky. The beautiful thing is my husband is in recovery. So I got I
For
think
the
I
same-
picked No, he's in recovery for alcohol. He's been in recovery now for 33 years of alcohol addiction.
Oh, wow.
And drugs. So he had a recovery background.
Yeah. He
gets it. So he gets that he could be the perfect partner, and whatever your addiction is, it has nothing to do with him. So he had enough Allan work and codependency work to see that. So when I, was on location shooting something, started flirting with this person I didn't even like as a person, which is the first sign. Like, wait, you're with someone or flirting with someone you actually don't like, being red flag, something's going on. And I remember, like, I like my boyfriend. I'm about to cheat. Something's wrong here. And I had one of those dark night of the soul moments when I was looking in a mirror at my hotel room, and I'm like, wow, it's me. Am I going to be doing this till I'm 80? Am I going to keep going from relationship to relationship, sometimes overlapping them, looking for this magical, fantasy, mystical person that is going to give me everything I think I need and fill that, emptiness? And I got home. I went to see my friend's therapist. And she said two things, and I love that I get to share it. First of all, she said, "You wear the mask of a high class prostitute," and I was like, "What?" I got so defended in my oh. And I was like, wait, I have gone to dinner and accepted gifts from people I didn't like. So that is a form of prostitution. But I was not going to take it from her. I was like, no, that's not true. You don't know me at all. I haven't had many sexual partners because I am a sex and love addict, just so you know, with not a lot of sexual partners. And the last thing she said is she goes, "Oh my God, I know your secret. You're a sex and love addict." And I said, "What is that?" And so there's these 40 questions. You can go online right now if this is ringing true, if you're a cheater, a liar, if you go from relationship to relationship, if you have a lot of sexual partners, one night stands, masturbate a lot, look at porn a lot, all those things are in the realm of sex and love addiction. And I did the 40 questions, and you have to read the book. It's chapter 3. You'll find out how many I got yes. And it was just very evident that I had this issue. So I went to my first meeting that night, 12-step meeting. It was 30 people. No one looked like me, acted like me. But this guy was speaking, and he said everything I ever thought did, almost did. And I was like, these are my people. So that was the beginning of the end, the death of me.
So I was going to ask, in terms of the definition of a sex and love addict, that's not necessarily the volume, and kind of to what your point of minimal partners, it's more the reason why you're doing it, not necessarily how much you're doing it. Right? Exactly.
So I always say, if I said to you, "Can you leave this person? Would you be okay?" If the answer is no, that's the first red flag. The second red flag is if you assign magical qualities to this person or this relationship, if it's fills this need and then slowly dissipates and it's not enough for you, that's another red flag. The masturbating when you have a feeling, if you compulsively masturbate or look at porn to escape yourself, or because you're bored, because boredom is actually unfelt feelings. It's usually sadness when you're bored. So I even say, if you're bored, look at why you're bored. What's going on in your life? What are you not feeling? So it's not the quantity, it's when you do it. So I would, go from person to person, not many sexual partners, and be like, oh, who's my next person? Who's my next victim? And then I would make myself the most available looking person to them and flow all this love and enmeshment and trauma bonding and oversharing and all those things. And then when the high wore off, the first love high, the butterflies, the falling in love is the best feeling in the world. But when that would wear off, I would start looking for somebody else. I would start my radar. I have a lot of guy friends, a lot of the friends I would have sex with. Those kind of things are signs of it. And if you answer the 40 questions and you only get 5 of them yes, that's still a sign you could have this issue. Because here's the thing,
5
society,
seems like such a low threshold, though.
I know it does, but that's what they say.
I go to sex parties where like it's a lot of people who just have sex with their friends. Sometimes they only do that at the parties. And so I just feel like those questions are written for like a quote unquote like normal person or whatever. You know, I'd be like, I don't know. Like it doesn't
No, we
really
have a lot of people. I work with a lot of people that do sex parties and people that are in multiple relationships. But is there secrets and lies? Is communication done? Are you manipulating somebody? Are you using your sexuality as a currency? You know, you and I have talked about it. Do you use your sexuality as a currency to manipulate and control other people? That's one of the signs too. People, when I tell them I'm a sex and love addict, they're like, ooh, I should have met you when, ooh. And it's like, stop it. That's not attractive to use someone else to get my needs met, to get the attention, the validation, the sexual high, the gratification. And the secrets and the darkness behind it, because it's always done in usually secrets. So, yeah, you can have sex and be sexually free and all that stuff, but why are you doing it is what I always ask. What's your payoff?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's usually to come, but like, yeah, I think it's a good question that one should ask themselves. I thought that's why most of us were doing it.
Wait, no, but are you coming to not feel a feeling? Are you coming because something happened in your life you don't want to deal with? Are you coming because your partner wants to go deeper in intimacy, but you just want to like get off instead? Do you see the difference?
Absolutely. I do get nervous about the use of the addict language in this society. And also, you know, we've seen with other celebrities, not, you know, you got the Tiger Woods type stuff where you get caught cheating. So you go like, I'm a sex addict.
No, I'm tired of that narrative too. I'm so tired of that narrative. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, you know, Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict, plug in the book. But that's why I wrote it, so people can actually pick it up and see there's different varieties of what a sex and love addict. It's not just someone that's cheated on their wives, getting caught, then going to rehab. That's not it. There's even love anorexics, sexual anorexics that get hurt and they shut down and they're not sexual for a couple years, or they stop dating, or they're scared of intimacy. The whole thing is you're afraid of intimacy, you're a fear of abandonment, you have low self-esteem, and you are afraid of being loved. That's underneath any sex addict, sex and love addict, love addict.
What was the first secret that you had that was tied to your SLAA?
Well, the first secret I had was the first time I cheated. It was in 7th grade, and I wrote about it. It was this moment where I was in the closet with my boyfriend's friend, and he came in the closet when we were like hiding it. We were like playing a game. I can't even remember the game. And he kissed me, and I kid you not, it was like heroin shot up my body. The power and control I felt over this young kid in 7th grade was just all consuming. It was this moment of like, my household was in shambles. My parents didn't get along. I didn't see a healthy relationship mirrored to me. I lived in fantasy because I was a latchkey kid and watched too much television and film. And so I had this unrealistic idea of what romance felt like. And when this kid kissed me and I cheated for the first time, it was like the best high in the world. And I kept that secret for the longest time. Nobody knew.
When did you let go of that secret?
In the book.
Yeah.
And my therapist. I told my therapist.
Did your 7th grade boyfriend ever like find out about this through the book and then like reached out and was like, what the fuck?
No, but when the book came out, I had a lot of exes come out and say, oh my God, I knew something. You know, I didn't know you were going through that. And recently I had that boy reach out to me, the one that I cheated with on Instagram. And it was like, he's suffering somehow. And he reached out, and I guess at like midnight or 2 a.m. And I said, I'm sorry you're suffering. I hope you get help, because I don't know what's going on. And
he was reaching out independent from this discovery. Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. What was the cheating about for you? You know, it's something that's referenced in like the interviews and the pieces you've written.
It's all power and control. When you cheat, you have a secret. You're splitting yourself. So you're disconnecting from yourself. And I would become this persona, someone else. I could be someone else, just kind of like being an actor. My therapist was like, you pick the worst career for your addiction because you're constantly being someone else instead of yourself. But when I cheated, I could be this other whole persona. But the problem is you can only keep that up for so long. Sooner or later, the cracks start, you know, the unrealistic expectations on the person, the hurting them because I'm hurting.
And does the fact that like being an actor, I mean, you're in a profession where, I mean, depending on the actor, but generally speaking, a lot of them very attractive. If it's okay that I say so, and that like you're surrounded by other attractive people, like did that play a factor at all?
You know, it's interesting because then when I would go to a job, it wasn't about how attractive somebody was. It was if I could manipulate and control them. So I could be with the hottest actor, and if I can't manipulate and control them, I'm not interested in it. I never wanted to be in the less power position. So I'm not one of those sex and love addicts that picked that man that had all that money that could have power and control. I was wanting the power and control. So yes, is it hard? You go on location and everybody's attractive. But here's the thing I know is you could be with the most attractive person, and if you have intimacy problems, that person gets uglier and uglier and uglier. One of the best sayings I heard from this old timer, he was like, pick the hottest person in the world and somebody's sick of fucking them. So it doesn't really matter.
Yo, that is true though. That is
It
true.
is. Yeah. So I know looks don't matter, but it was all about manipulation and control and power.
Yeah, I mean, looks like might not matter, but also there is something that, you know, when attraction, when there's just a bunch of hot people in the room, you know, frankly, like even a polyamory like potluck dinner can break out into some stuff just because like, oh, we're all hot and fun and like reasonably decent in bed. Sure, it sounds better than playing fucking Scrabble. It's like, although a lot of poly people love their Scrabble.
Yeah, but here's the thing about actors. They're like the most insecure people. So it's not like you are with them. There's like a military. Okay, can you hear that? The military?
A little bit is like, I personally think that it adds ambiance to a podcast. Like it's like, oh my God, I'm in the room with them. It's like, yes, I also hear the drug busts going on 3 blocks away in Bushwick. Like, oh, it's like I'm right in the room.
Okay, good. Then keep it. But the actors are the most insecure. So you get around with a bunch of actors. They're not all fucking each other. They're all like worried about their lines, their makeup, you know, what they're going to eat later if they have time to go to the gym. So it's not like those type of people were my kind of people I was attracted to. But have I been with actors? Yes. Will I ever tell? No. Read the book.
Read the book, sure. But, you know, and feel free to use an example if you care to. But like how, if it did your addiction get in the way of work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think for sure my addiction got in the way of my work because I was putting so much energy and intriguing, validating, flirting with people on set that I probably didn't do my job all the time. I probably didn't put so much energy into my work that I didn't, you know, go to the next level. I'm a working actor. I made a living for almost 25 years now as a working actor, doing nothing else. So I'm very lucky, but I definitely think it got in the way of my self-esteem. If I was going through fights or a breakup or from one relationship to another, traveling the world to even go to see people, I was missing auditions. I was doing those self-sabotaging things to my career at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, are there any examples of like on-set drama? No names needed, but like, is there kind of an example where you're like, fuck, that almost lost me this gig because like a thing happened, or they're like, you can't book Brianne. She's going to fuck the DP in a DP and it's going to just get complicated between him and the grip.
See, but here's the beautiful thing about me, and I'm going to say I was like the best secret keeper. You wouldn't know. It was like I wore the face of like this perfect, never did anything wrong, but behind the scenes, I was just like acting out like crazy. So I actually never got caught that way. And I got lucky, but I saw a lot of other people get caught. And there's this whole world in LA, the showman's world. So when you go on location, everybody's fucking everybody. So it's really not a big deal. they're married, they're not married, their wife is coming to visit. Everybody is doing it. And I write about that in the book. It's like it was almost acceptable to go on location and to be acting out. So I never felt like anybody was gossiping about me. I kept it so well hidden.
Yeah. That's what, and that was, I think, what I was getting at before. I'm like, well, you're on shoot, you're on location, you're in Arizona. It's kind of like, hey, let's like, so is that true? That just, in Hollywood, it gets spicy.
Always. I think that's why you see so many Hollywood marriages breaking up, because it is just a way of life. You go on location, the DP's fucking one of the extras, the director's sleeping with the lead actor. Like it's so jumbled. Usually the lead actor guy is sleeping with some makeup girl. Like you could literally go on set and go, they're sleeping with this person, they're about to sleep together. You could see it. It's like a game. I did it one time. I was shooting in San Francisco on this TV show I was on for a while. And I was sitting around the circle of all us actors and the director and everybody. And it was like, the male actor was sleeping with the wardrobe. The other male actor was going through a divorce, trying to sleep with a makeup girl. Around the circle. And I was like, oh my God, we're all a bunch of sex and love addicts, like looking for attention and validation.
And so in your recovery, I read that you did a year of abstinence.
Yes.
I think that's kind of like the standard. Like they want you to do a year like that, right?
Well, actually, that's the difference between like AA or NA. It's very gray. It's not black and white. So everybody has different set rules.
Sure.
For me,
I just feel like I've heard that number a lot.
Well, a year is always good because you get a chance to actually find yourself in a year, but they've tried to do 90 days at first. So the first 90 days you try not to be sexually active. But they see like sometimes people don't have a problem with masturbation. Sometimes people don't have a problem with cheating. So it just really depends on what your specific need is.
Mm-hmm. And again, to bring it back a bit, you're with the man who eventually becomes your husband. You're not married yet, correct? And
Correct.
So what the fuck was that year like for you? What was it like for him?
Brutal. It was brutal for both of us. And we lived together. We already lived together because I'm a sex and love addict. So I move in after a month, like no boundaries whatsoever. So we were already living together and we didn't have sex for the year. And so what that would look like is, we would hug and kiss, but I couldn't physically give myself to somebody else when I didn't have myself anymore. I was so disconnected from my own sexuality, and I used it so long to get power and control and not to feel and be in my body that I had to own my body back. So I did therapy twice a week. I did body work, Reiki work. I did cupping, all that stuff, moving trauma around. I did this 12 steps. I worked with a sponsor. I went to a bunch of meetings and I would cry and he wouldn't even be allowed to comfort me. So it was a really separate healing process, which I'm so grateful we got through, because there was a couple moments where it's like watching the person you love crying and not being able to like show your love for them has to be debilitating at times for him. And I'll ask him. We don't talk about it very often, but he said it was really hard for him as well.
It's really tough.
But I didn't even masturbate. I didn't do anything, anything.
Man. Oh,
I know.
Like you finally, once you pass it all, like you're opening the old drawer and like everything's got dust on it. You're like, oh, this Lilo,
Totally.
like it was once
You're like,
good.
how does this work?
You just give a good blow. Just be like, get out, come on. Okay. He's like, because nobody wants to go spend another $1,000 on toys again, right? I went to like a it's not therapeutic because there was no therapist, but like it was an alternative boarding school, a lot of seminaring, talking about your feelings. And, especially during the family stuff, when we'd have family weekends, when my mom would come and participate, there were times where like she'd be crying and she'd be in pain and she's sharing something tough and it's tough for me to hear. And all I want to do is comfort my mom. And there were times where it was like, especially early on, as I learned this, they were like, Billy, you need to like, let her feel this. Let her feel this pain. It's also not my job as a child to always make sure she's not feeling pain. So like, it's so tough to look at someone you love and care about more than most people in the world or anyone in the world and see them hurt and know you could help, but it would only be temporary, and you might be doing damage long term. So you actually have to like let them struggle. We would call
you
it
have to
honor
let
the
them
struggle.
go.
Yeah.
We call that letting the withdrawal happen. So it's
Or someone's like
withdrawal.
crying and you want to hand them tissue box, and it'll be like, if they need tissues, they can ask for tissues or get up and get the tissues, but we're not going to instinctively give people tissues.
Yeah, because it's stopping the process of how they're trying to grieve and extract. So for me, it helped that my therapist was guiding me through it and him at the same time. So I had to explain, you know, like every time I cry, it's trauma coming out of my body. So when you see me crying, I need to extract that. So she would explain it like, you have to explain to him like you're digging through all your internal shit to get to your gold. And it's not his job to help me find the gold. I have to do it myself.
Yeah. Even if he knows exactly where the gold is. It's like
He will never know where the gold is, though. That's the thing.
But even if someone knew, its idea is, again, it's like, even if you already have the answer for a thing, it's like you have to let the person do the process, or you're cheating them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and you're playing God. Sorry, I'm gonna even go to the God God word, which I had a hard time with, the God or higher power. But when you're taking on someone's feelings or fixing it for them, you're playing God and not allowing their own process to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for someone who's like me, like anxiously attached, like part of that is, well, if I can help them and make them feel better, I have like shown my worth and value and why they should be with me and all that stuff. And it's just really hard sometimes to like let that go. And
and my husband's very similar to you. He's very codependent and wants to fix, and he's a fixer, and he wants to have everyone happy. And it was really hard for him. So he was even working his program around that at the same time. So we were both doing work. I think that was the beauty. If both people are willing to do the work together and walk the path and not enmesh with each other in the process, I just got really lucky that he was willing to do the work too, because we could have not been together. It could have not worked out.
Sexting is really, really hot, but it can get confusing when your sexting gets mixed in with your regular text thread. You ask her what she's wearing right before she asks, who's picking the kid up from the play date? Yikes. Ever send a nude to your man and it was just not the right time? That's why I think it's smart to keep your sexting in the Amorous app. Yes, our sponsor this week, Amorous. I download the Amorous app just to keep sexy intentions in one easy, safe place with my long-distance lover. I mean, she's only like 13 miles away from me, but you know, any Brooklynite knows that the Upper East Side counts as long distance. We were loving the chat sparks. They're these playful, sexy questions about your partner's desires and pleasure. We were doing 1 or 2 each day as foreplay before our most recent date. Like, I know a text from her could be anything, but when I get an Amorous notification, ooh, I know it's on. And this is not a dating app. You're not going to be swiping through profiles on there. You don't even have to make a profile. This is just a great tool for you and yours to spice things up, especially when it feels like life gets in the way. Amorous, Amorous, is free in the App Store and with Android launching in the new year. Download Amorous today at amorous.net/manwhore so they know who sent you. That's a .net, everybody. You remember those? And Amorous also has a real-world card game version of Chat Sparks, which is great for a sexy couples night or a hot house party. This is a great way to break the ice. Go to amorous.net/manwhore to get 20% off your deck. So one more time, to get 20% off a Chat Sparks card deck or to download Amorous today. Well, and do both. What are you doing? Visit Amorous, amorous.net/manwhore, or you know what? Just click the link in the show notes. Yeah. I asked this not coming from a pervy place, but
Okay.
before, you know, whether it's before you met your now husband or before all the addiction revelation, but what was your relationship like with your orgasm or pleasure?
It was not to feel. Literally, I would only do it when a feeling would happen, and I would do it multiple times. So that's another sign if it's like the one orgasm's not enough and you like want to have multiple. So you just want that feeling over and over again. So now if I want to do that, because you can get to a place to bring sexuality back in a healthy way. That's why I always tell people we just take it away for a while. work on you and bring it back in a healthy way with healthy tools. So now when I want to do it, I always ask myself, what's going on? Am I feeling something? Am I not? So I give myself a couple minutes and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like so it's having that awareness and conversation, because I started masturbating at like, I write about it in the book at, I think 3 or 4. Like I started really, really young to self-soothe. It was a self-soothing mechanism that I fell into with my teddy bear. And I was like, this is it. This is how I feel good when my parents are fighting in the other room and they're arguing about money and, not mirroring, like I said, a healthy relationship. I never saw my parents sleep in the same bed. I never saw them hold hands, say, I love you, be like a healthy couple. So that's how I self-soothe. So I use that my whole life.
Yeah. And just to clarify again, and this is me almost speaking to everyone else, just so they know that it's not the act, that it's not that you were masturbating at 3 or 4. That is not the sign of a sex and love addict, right? So if you are hearing this, be like, well, I did too. I've had quite a few exes, who also were very young masturbators, but also that's not necessarily means like, oh, well, now then you were a sex addict, but rather it was why you were doing it and how it, carried through. Just so I make sure I'm putting that out there. Again, I feel so almost like protective of a listener, because although this is your truth and stuff, we just live in the society that is ascribing that, to the point you've got so many therapists who are trying to push back against even the concept of sex addiction.
Yeah, but I do have to say, just to go against you a little in the way, is there are a lot of sex and love addicts in our society. Our society amplifies it, actually. It almost glorifies it, like go find that partner, the Disney movies, all of that stuff over and over. That is, planning your wedding, looking for it, like use your sexuality. So it is actually amplifying more people having this intimacy problem. So it's really an intimacy problem. And you just use fantasy and love and always searching and relocating and going from city to city, person to person. So yeah, I don't ever work with anybody and immediately label them sex and love addict. Do they have tendencies? Are they using a relationship to not feel a feeling? Are they staying in a relationship because they're scared to be alone? All those are true as well. So but it's getting worse and worse. And our younger generations are really suffering. They're having huge intimacy problems. Social media is amplifying this facade on fantasy on top of it. So I just have to say that as well. But I don't go around and just diagnose willy-nilly people.
It's not bad to be shown the Disney princess. It's just bad if like you're only shown Disney princess, which when you get to the adult films, it's more like the mother character who has like 2 scenes and 13 lines and is really only there to serve like the husband or the child character, and so she's not even right. That's
yes, I've had those roles. Yes, I have those roles. I was like, do I need to repeat this same every episode to my husband? Ugh.
Problem isn't the Disney princess. The problem I think that historically has been is it was mostly or only the Disney princess. But now if it's like, well, there's Disney princesses, and then Disney princesses look differently and are behaving differently. And then there's the non-Disney, like just so long as there's a variety so people see,
I don't know,
it can be all of these things.
The Disney princesses I grew up with is if you're asleep, a prince comes and rescues you by kissing you.
But Disney today we have like the brave chick. We have Moana. Like it's a different thing. That's what I'm getting at. So long as there's a variety of type, then I think there's less damage done. But the problem is I think people ignore that intimacy issue and they see the people who are having a lot of sex or they're casual about sex. And because that person viewing them has issues with sex, they're having a lot of sex, so they're a sex addict.
I agree, but here's the thing. I work with people and I say, okay, you've done the healing. Let's see if you can do one night stands, casual sex. Like you might be able to. Some people are not able to. I personally am not able to do that. That was never my thing and I don't enjoy that. But that can be brought back in a healthy way. Being sexual isn't a bad thing. It's just how you use it. That's all. I think that's the difference. And I think you and I are on the same page, but I totally get the message of like, if you're out there sleeping around, you are a sex addict. I don't believe that. But if you're out there sleeping around and your self-worth is attached to the sleeping around and then how you feel after, if there's shame, if there's guilt, if there's even a high about it, that might be a problem.
Absolutely. So, after that year was up, and use whatever language, it can be just emotions if you want to, but how was that first time? That must have been explosive.
Honestly, it was great, but it was a little awkward. It was because I felt like I was newly a virgin or something. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't use the old tricks or go into my disconnection head. So being completely present with another person and like connected, I felt like
It's like once you're finally present, you're like, balls are weird. It's like I never noticed before.
Like, this is weird. Okay. So it was like I was learning all over again. That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm. So, and how long how long, whether it's terms of, numbers of time or length of time, how long did it take for you to feel like you got back into a good and healthy sexual groove with your husband?
Oh my God. Well, it goes in waves because here's the thing with this work that you do, you're peeling the onion, right, to the healing. So I reach a threshold and I feel great and things I'm connected to my body. And then another trauma thing comes up that I didn't deal with and I have to do that healing. So it really comes in waves for me. And we've been together now for so long, it still comes in waves. It's different.
So sometimes you have to take another break?
Sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we call it a second surrender. After a decade of recovery or like 15 years, you do this like second surrender where old things wash up and you have to like heal another layer. So that was a time that we took a break where I was like crying every day for like a month and I had no idea why. Like nothing was wrong. And it was just this next wave of sadness and trauma that I hadn't felt.
Did you see the movie Thank You for Sharing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what'd you great movie, everybody, starring Mark Ruffalo, Tim Robbins, Josh Gad, and Pink just doing her thing. What'd you think of that film and its depiction of that addiction?
I think it didn't do that great for everybody in the program. It did the best that anyone has done. I think at times it got a little cheesy because a lot of times in our darkest moments, especially and with each other and in the rooms, there's a lot of laughter and fun. It's actually the best, healthiest room in the world, and we laugh a lot at ourselves while we're healing. So it got a little like at times for me, and then a little shticky with the 12-step lingo. I wish they would have backed off a little because we don't use that lingo as much. So that it like rubbed me the wrong way, but I think it did the closest it could because this addiction is so cunning and baffling and hard to capture in just one movie.
Yeah.
So that was my thought on it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with a subject matter that hasn't been covered much. Yeah. If you're doing a movie on heroin addiction, well, there's been a whole, but you don't always have to, we all kind of as a society know, but unfortunately, when we don't know, they're kind of like, well, we got to throw out the lingo so people can know the thing. And so it's almost like, I don't know another sex addiction movie other than there was the one with Fassbender that I didn't see.
That's pure sex
Shame.
Addiction, though. Shame, yeah. That's pure sex addiction. That's not sex and love addiction. So I think Shame did a really good job, but only showing one aspect of a sex addict. I wish they would have shown a little bit more, just his journey, but I think they did a good job of the devastation and the grief and the guilt. And then the relationship between him and his sister, the enmeshingness and inappropriateness, I think they captured really well with that. And then at the end, him about to go act out again. Because this addiction, there's a lot of slips. There's a lot of setbacks. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's like a learning disease where you have to keep practicing. It's progressive. So I think Shame did a better job than Thank You for Sharing.
Okay.
And we don't even say thank you for sharing. It's just so annoying.
I mean, I think that's like general recovery of all sorts of thing, like kind of lingo, but,
Yeah.
On a slightly different track, in my Discord server, the Champagne Room, folks, link in the show notes if you want to join us in there. We have a patron-only channel called Ask the Guest. Patreon members can ask questions, and I will ask them. If these are bad questions, by the way, wasn't my idea, so I don't feel bad. It's great.
Okay.
But Chuck wanted to know, in regards to your show, Secret Life, what is the most surprising secret you've heard on your podcast? And have you drawn any conclusions about the types of secrets we keep?
Oh my God. I think the most profound one and jarring, well, there was two of them that really shook me. It was one of the first anonymous people I had on. Her name is Kristen, and she shot herself in the chest with a shotgun and survived, obviously, and took me through why she did it she couldn't reach perfectionism and how it felt when the bullet went in and the whole process afterwards. And I was just like, the beautiful rawness that she exposed on that episode, it just changed my life, and I'll forever be indebted to her. And then another one that
did you know the secret before? Did you know the secret before you booked
I don't
her?
always know the secret before. No, especially when I started the show, I just reached out to I put a blast out, and I reached out to a bunch of my friends in Hollywood and people and just said, hey, if you have a secret or you want to share, come on. And a lot of people were sex and love addicts, but I started getting people from everywhere all over the world. So I didn't know her secret before.
Oh, that's wild, because you have to, like, as a host, kind of keep it together, but also inside you're just going, oh, what the fuck? Like, right?
Totally. But it was just I've never experienced such a connection with someone I've never met. And that was like the moment for me where I was like, this is something bigger than me. And it's giving people a voice that don't always have a voice. I mean, the other one that shook me is someone I know that she used abortions as a form of birth control. So she walks me through every time she did that. So that one was a little like, but we've had so many fucking good episodes. I mean, I could sit here forever. I mean, we've had episodes where, being assaulted by a police officer, sexually assaulted. I can't even begin to tell you how many, emotionally incestuous with their mother. It's just like left and right. And here's the thing. The one that keeps coming back is a lot of men come on the show and share about sexual assaults I have more men come on and share about sexual assaults than I do women, which is really telling to me that men don't get a place to actually express those things that happen to them. There is also sexual assault that men receive from women and feeling forced to perform an act they actually don't want to do. And society tells a man most of the time that they have to do it, or they should man up, or that's what they're supposed to do. So I completely agree.
You don't want like you advocating for yourself sexually sometimes to hurt someone else's feelings, but that's not the priority. You are that priority.
Always. Because you live and you die with yourself. You're the only person with you your whole life. So why wouldn't you take care of you?
Yeah. But Brianne, this has been really eye-opening. I think a lot of people are getting to hear about a topic I don't get to talk terribly often about. Before we do some plugs, just real quick, I was pretty appropriate this whole time. I'll ask one inappropriate question. Were any of your celebrity hookups, any of them win an Oscar?
Maybe.
There's so many winners.
So many winners.
Did you get to hold it while I'd be the type where like, look, you're really hot, but like, can I hold your Oscar while I fuck you? That would be, I feel like that's on a list somewhere. Well, that's incredible.
That's on your bucket list.
You've got your book, you've got your podcast. So, why don't you go tell people where they can go find you, follow you, read you, listen to you.
Yes, Secret Life Podcast. It's everywhere you listen to podcasts. The book is called Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict. You can get it on Amazon. You can listen to the audiobook, which I had to narrate, which was torture, pure torture. So enjoy me acting it out for you. And, you can follow me on Instagram at the Brianne Davis or TikTok, the.Brianne Davis. And I answer any questions. So if you have any questions or you need information, just DM me and I try to get back to everybody. And thank you for having me on it. It's been so fun.
Links to everything in the show notes of this episode. I'm going to try to not bog y'all down with calls to action at the end. I realize that could be tiring. Wish I realized that a few hundred episodes ago. But we're going to try to keep it a little light here at the tail end. A couple things I might say, try to steer you towards. But I just want this to be a relaxing way, as you're very slowly finishing up that drive, as you're packing up to leave the office. Maybe you're now trying to rummage around your bag for your phone so you can queue up the next podcast you're going to listen to. So I just want you all to know that everything you always need, always in the show notes of the episode. You can also engage with other like-minded listeners about this week's show in the Champagne Room. Join us in the episode discussion channel and let us know your thoughts about Brianne, about sex and love addiction, about the show. You want a hot dating tip? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Once you've matched, once you've established a little bit of chemistry, try to move things along to setting a date. The longer you wait to set a date, the less likely it is you're ever gonna fucking meet. Tomorrow night, Thursday, February 16th, ouch, hot movie night. We got The Devil in Miss Jones at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the Champagne Room for patrons only. And if you want to join us, but you don't want to throw your $2 down for entry, hey, sign up for that 7-day free trial right now and join us tomorrow to watch some porn. Patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Did y'all hear that Morgan & Morgan commercial? Isn't that hilarious? Finally, a sponsor like I can write home to dad about. Finally, like a sponsor that doesn't vibrate. I love the vibrating sponsors, but I love that like Morgan & Morgan, America's #1 personal injury law firm, was like, the whore boy. I think he's got some people for us over there. Sometimes capitalism is super funny. Enjoy your week, everybody, and stay slutty.
Remember that dude at the video store that knew way too much about movies, but always made you laugh? Whatever happened to that guy? Well, he started a podcast, Binge Watchers Podcast. Go listen at bwpodcast.com. And every month the shows host a new theme of episodes like Bad Romances, Back in the Day Hits, and an annual horror movie marathon called Summer Slash. Listen now at bwpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.